Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Bacon. Welcome to the show, y'all. This one here is different. It ain't about a trigger pull or a back alley brawl. Nah, this one's about ink and paper, about the kind of crime that happens in quiet rooms with humming machines, the kind that feels clean until it ain't. This is the story of a kid named Jay. Smart dude. Too smart for his own good, maybe. He wasn't a banger, wasn't a stick-up kid. He was the quiet one in the back of the class, the one who saw angles nobody else did. But he grew up broke, and being smart don't pay the rent. His mama worked cleaning hotel rooms, came home every night with her back screaming and her hands raw. Jay saw that. He felt that. And he had a hunger in him, not just for money, but to lift that weight off her shoulders. He got a job at a little print shop downtown. Learned about high-grade paper, about laminators, scanners, and the subtle art of making something fake look real. He was good at it. Paid attention to the details. He didn't know it then, but he was getting a PhD in the very thing that was going to bury him. That's where he met Wes. Wes wasn't flashy. Dressed clean, spoke low, had the kind of calm confidence that made you lean in. He came into the shop a few times, watched Jay work, and he saw the potential. One night, Wes waited for him after his shift. "You got a good eye, kid," he said, leaning against a Lexus that was too clean for the neighborhood. "The world runs on paper. IDs, checks, titles. It's all just a story somebody printed. And if you know how to print, you can tell any story you want." The words were a hook, and Jay bit down hard. He started meeting Wes in a quiet apartment that looked more like an office than a trap spot. Laptops, printers, stacks of blank checks, and high-end laminating machines. It was a factory for fake identities. Wes laid out the hustle. They get their hands on real business checks, wash the ink off, and reprint them with new names and amounts. Then they print a perfect fake ID to match, walk into a bank, cash it, and disappear. "No guns, no blood, no victims," Wes said, "just taking a little from a system that's been taken from us our whole lives." It sounded like a revolution, not a crime. Jay, with his sharp mind and his print shop skill, was a natural. Wes groomed him, taught him the craft. How to match fonts, how to age paper, how to capture the almost invisible watermark on a state ID. His first job was a test. Wes gave him a check for $6,000 and a driver's license with a stranger's face that looked just enough like his. "Walk in like you own the place," Wes instructed, and confidence is the best camouflage. Jay's heart was a jackhammer in his chest as he walked into that bank. The air was cold, quiet. He slid the check to the teller, a young woman who looked bored. She glanced at the ID, at him, back at the ID. She typed something into her computer. For a second that stretched into an eternity, he thought he was caught. Then she just nodded, counted out $100 bills, and pushed them under the glass. Jay walked out into the sunlight, the cash in his pocket feeling hot, electric. It was the easiest, scariest money he had ever made. He gave most of it to his mama. Told her it was a scholarship grant he'd won for a graphic design contest. The lie came easy, and when she cried and hugged him, the guilt was drowned out by the feeling of being a provider, of being the man of the house. He thought he was being smart. He thought he had found a victimless crime, but there's no such thing. He was stealing identities, stealing trust, and the paper trail he was creating wasn't just leading to bank vaults. It was leading straight back to his own front door. And he was about to drag everyone he loved down with him. That first stack of cash was a poison apple. It tasted sweet, but the seeds were rotten. Jay started running checks for Wes every week. One bank on the north side, another on the south, different IDs, different names, same easy money. He got good at it. The fear turned into a low hum of adrenaline. The confidence grew into a dangerous swagger. He was living two lives. By day, he was the quiet kid at the print shop, stacking paper, cleaning machines. By night, he was Wes's best earner, walking out of banks with envelopes fat with cash. He bought a new car, a used but clean Accord, told his mama he was getting a manager's bonus. She was so proud, she cried, and every tear felt like a stone in his gut. Wes saw the talent in him, not just for cashing, but for creating. One night in the apartment, he pointed to the printers. "You know these machines better than me, Jay. I need better IDs. The ones we're buying are getting flagged. I need them perfect. I need them to breathe." This was the next step, the promotion, from soldier to lieutenant. Jay felt a surge of pride. He took the blank cards, the holographic overlays, the high-res scans, and he went to work. He remembered every trick from the print shop, the weight of the paper, the texture of the laminate, the almost invisible ghost image on the back of a real license. He worked all night, fueled by coffee and ambition. The next morning, he handed Wes an ID. It was a masterpiece, flawless. Wes held it up to the light, a slow grin spreading across his face. "Kid, you're not just a hustler. You're an artist." That praise sealed the deal. Jay became the engine of the operation. He printed the checks. He created the identities. He was the man behind the curtain. The money got bigger. The risk got higher, but soon they hit a wall. There were too many checks, too many banks. Wes couldn't cash them all himself. Jay couldn't either. His face was getting too hot. They needed more runners, more faces the banks hadn't seen yet. "We need to expand the team," Wes said. "Bring in some new people. Someone you trust, someone who's hungry." Jay's mind went blank. Trust? In this game, trust was a liability. But then a face popped into his head. His younger cousin, Kevin. Kevin was 17, working a dead-end job at a car wash, always complaining about being broke. He looked up to Jay, saw the new car, the fresh clothes, and his eyes were full of envy. He was hungry, and he was family. Jay told himself it was a way of helping. "I'll just let him run a few checks," he thought. "Get him on his feet. Give him a boost." He was justifying it the same way he justified the lies to his mother. He was convincing himself that the poison was medicine. He met Kevin for lunch. He slid a $100 bill across the table. "How'd you like to make 1,000 of these for an hour's work?" Kevin's eyes went wide. "For real? Doing what?" Jay kept his voice low, smooth, the same way Wes had talked to him. "It's clean, Kev. No guns, no drugs. It's just paper. You just got to walk into a bank, sign a name, and walk out. Easy." He saw the hesitation in his cousin's eyes, the fear, but he also saw the hunger. He knew he had him. A few days later, Kevin was sitting in the back of Wes's Lexus, holding a fake ID with his own picture on it. Jay was in the front seat, talking him through it, his own voice sounding like a stranger's. "Confidence, Kev. That's the key. You belong there." Kevin walked into that bank, his shoulders stiff, his face pale. Jay watched from the car, his own heart pounding, and this was different. This wasn't just his own freedom on the line, it was his family's. Kevin came out 5 minutes later, walking fast, not looking back. He slid into the car, threw an envelope fat with cash on the dashboard. He was breathing heavy, but there was a wild electric grin on his face. "Man, that was easy." Jay looked at him, at the excitement in his young cousin's eyes, and he didn't feel like a provider. He felt like a pimp. He had just sold his own family into the game, and the paper trail was no longer just his. And he had a cold, sinking feeling that the ink was about to spread, staining everyone he had ever claimed to love. With Kevin now in the mix, the operation had fresh legs. Jay wasn't just a printer anymore, he was a manager, a recruiter. And that power felt good. It felt like control. The money started coming in faster. Kevin was a natural, cool under pressure, with an easy smile that disarmed tellers. Soon Jay brought in 2 more kids from the block, both of them hungry, both of them looking for a way out of their dead-end job. He was building a team, his own crew, but this crew wasn't built on loyalty, it was built on paper, and paper burns. Jay's role shifted. He stayed in the apartment, the command center, printing the checks, manufacturing the lives. He got so good at it, he could create a whole person in under an hour. Driver's license, social security card, a pay stub. He was a ghost maker. Wes was impressed. He started giving Jay a bigger cut, more responsibility. "You're the future of this kid," he said. "You got the mind for it, not just the nerve." But the bigger the operation got, the more risks they had to take. The bank started getting smarter. They'd flag IDS that had been used before. They needed an endless supply of fresh faces, fresh names, clean identities. That's when Jay made the mistake that would cost him everything. He was running out of profile. He needed a name that was clean, with a real credit history, something that wouldn't raise any flags. And a thought, ugly and tempting, slithered into his mind. His sister Aaliyah. She was in college, worked part-time, perfect credit. Her identity was a golden key. He told himself it wasn't really stealing. "I'll just borrow it," he thought, "just for one big check. She'll never know. And the money will help her. I can pay off her student loans." He was a master at justification. He could build a lie so convincing he even started to believe it himself. He lifted her info from the mail, scanned her driver's license when he was home doing laundry. In the quiet of the apartment with the printers humming, he created a perfect duplicate. Her face, her name, but a different address. He looked at it in his hands, a knot of guilt tightening in his stomach. But the thought of the payday was stronger. He gave the ID to a new runner, a girl named Maya. She was nervous, but she needed the money. He sent her to a high-end bank downtown. The check was for $50,000 and the biggest one they'd ever tried. Jay waited in the car across the street, the hum of the engine a poor cover for his own pounding heart. Maya was inside for too long, way too long. He saw a bank manager walk over to her, then pick up a phone. Cold dread washed over him. This is it. It's over. He was about to peel out when Maya walked out, fast, her face pale. She slid into the car, no envelope in her hand. "They got suspicious," she whispered, her voice shaking. "The manager said the account was flagged for a fraud alert. They kept the ID. They told me to wait. I ran." Jay's mind was racing, his sister's ID in the hands of a bank manager who had probably already called the cops. The paper trail was no longer just a trail. It was a lit fuse burning straight back to his family. He drove Maya to the bus station, gave her a few $100s. "Disappeared," he told her. "Don't call me. Don't call anyone." He went back to the apartment, his hands shaking. Wes was there, calm as ever. Jay told him what happened. Wes just took a slow drag from his cigarette. "It was bound to happen. The game has risks. We shut it down for a few weeks, let the heat die. But that ID, that's a problem. That's a string they can pull." That night, Jay lay awake, staring at the ceiling. He had built a cage made of paper, and he had just locked his own sister inside it with him. The clean hustle was gone. The illusion of a victimless crime was shattered. This wasn't about beating the system anymore. This was about survival. And he had a sinking feeling that the walls were closing in, and he was the one who had handed the cops the key. After the bank scare, the operation went dark. The humming printers in the apartment fell silent. Wes disappeared for a while, letting the heat cool. But for Jay, there was no cooling off. There was just a low, constant burn of paranoia. Every car that passed his house looked like an unmarked unit. Every phone call from an unknown number felt like a trap. He watched his sister Aaliyah moving through her life, oblivious to the storm that was gathering around her name. The guilt was a physical weight, pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. He tried to act normal. He kept working at the print shop. He ate dinner with his mama. listening to her talk about her day, the lie of his scholarship money, a bitter taste in his mouth. He was living on a fault line, just waiting for the ground to split open. His cousin Kevin got nervous. "Man, are we good?" he'd ask. "I'm hearing whispers." Jay would tell him to chill, that it was all handled. But he saw the fear in Kevin's eyes that he had pulled him into this, promised him it was easy, and now they were both just waiting for the knock on the door. After a month, Wes called a meeting. "The heat's down," he said. "Time to get back to work, but we got to be smarter, cleaner." Jay wanted to say no. He wanted to walk away. But he was in too deep. He had his sister's name to protect, and Wes knew it. "We need one more big score," Wes said. "Enough to set us up for good, then we can lay low for a real long time." It was the oldest lie in the book. The one last job. But Jay was desperate enough to believe it. The plan was ambitious. They were going to hit multiple banks in one day, using a new batch of flawless IDs Jay had created. It was risky, but the payday was huge. Jay worked for a week straight, his print shop skills pushed to the limit. He created a new set of identities so real they could have voted. But he avoided using Aaliyah's. He couldn't risk it, and he couldn't put her in the fire again. The day of the score was tense. Jay coordinated from the apartment, a general in a war of paper and ink. Kevin and the other runners were out in the field, moving from bank to bank. The first few hits went smooth. Money was flowing in. But then Kevin called and his voice was shaking. "Man, the ID got flagged, they know." The teller just hit a silent alarm. Jay's blood ran cold. "Get out of there, Kev, now." He heard shouting in the background, then the line went dead. Jay's world imploded. They had Kevin. And Kevin knew everything. He knew about the apartment. He knew about Wes. He knew about Jay. Wes was already packing the bag. "It's over, kid. Every man for himself." He tossed a stack of cash on the table. "That's your cut. Good luck." And then he was gone out the back door, a ghost disappearing into the city. Jay stood frozen in the middle of the room, the sound of distant sirens growing louder. He had a choice, run like Wes or stay and face the music. He thought of his mama. He thought of Aaliyah. He thought of the mess he had made. Running wouldn't fix it. It would just leave them to clean it up. He sat down at the table and waited. Minutes later, the door to the apartment splintered, and the room was filled with cops with guns drawn, shouting commands. Jay didn't move. He just put his hands on the table. As the cuffs cinched tight around his wrists, he knew his run was over. The paper trail had led them right to his door. He thought he was being a provider, a protector. But in the end, he was just another hustler who had gambled with his family's future and lost everything. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.